Welcome to Episode 6 of Run the Length. My opponent this week is Pat VanValue, who is famous for being the other bloke on Strictly the Worst Guild Ball podcast. At the time of this recording, Pat is currently ranked number 3 in the United States and 18th in the world. We select plots and I end up with Sick'em, Knee Slider, and Who Are Ya? Pat's plots are Match Fixing, Man Marking, and Composure. The terrain on this board is a barrier at the top of the screen. Moving down, we have an obstacle on the right and rough terrain on the left. Then toward the bottom, we have 2 more wall-like obstacles and a lake that is representing fast terrain. Pat wins the roll to go first and chooses to receive. As always, there's a link in the description that will allow you to skip the draft and get straight into the game. My roster is Midas, Smoke, Flask, Vitriol, Harry, Catalyst, Compound, Calculus, and Crucible. I talked a bit about this roster in my last 2 videos, so be sure to check those out for more information on my inclusions. To sum it up though, there is no matchup that I like VetCat better than I like Original, and I wanted a slot for Crucible. Pat's roster is Ballista, Mother, Colossus, Compound, Harry, Hoist, Ratchet, Salvo, and Velocity. Pat's roster is interesting, and I think there's still quite a bit of space to explore when you think about engineer rosters. Do you include double captain or double mascot? Is Locust worth a slot? I also think the strength of engineers is one of the best kept secrets in all of competitive Guild Ball. If I had to rank them right now, I would put them either 3rd or 4th best team in the game, either right behind or right in front of Union, with Alchemists and Fish being on top. Pat opens the draft with Ballista, his only captain. I counter with Flask, my only mascot. Pat chooses Mother, his only mascot. I pick Harry. Pat picks Harry. Harry is the be-all and end-all of Union teams that can take him, so these picks should come as no surprise. I pick Catalyst. By dropping VetCat, I lock myself into this pick, which in all honesty I'm fine with. Catalyst is way too strong at the moment, and there are so many ways to work around his weaknesses. Pat picks Hoist. Hoist is a fairly obvious pick here since he has incredibly strong synergy with Mother and the fact that Alchemists struggle to deal with Tough Hide. When you tack on Reanimate, Hoist is nigh unkillable for Alchemists. I pick Vitriol. Vitriol is a staple of Alchemists and is one of the main things that attracts competitive players to Alchemists. I play her in 100% of my games. Pat picks Ratchet. Ratchet is a hard player to leave behind in Engineers. When you consider his heroic, he is a 4 influence player. He gives out tooled up, and he has strong range presence. This pick is the first real decision point in my draft, and there are essentially 2 lists I feel comfortable playing in Engineers here. Either I pick Midas, then Crucible, and play a brawly game with momentum pressure, or I pick Smoke and Calculus and play a ranged footballing game. With Pat's Ratchet pick, I don't feel comfortable with the ranged fight, since he can have Hoist, True Replicate, Blast Earth, and outshoot me by quite a bit. Lobbing 4 2-damage AoEs and a deadbolt at me every turn, all of which creates momentum. This could be even worse if he takes Colossus, giving him another Tough Hide model that I can't really shoot to death. I decide to go for Midas here and see what he does with his flex slot. Pat picks Velocity. I pick Crucible. I choose Crucible here because Calculus will struggle to impact the game, since most players I could blind are capable of finding other impactful ways to spend their influence. Compound's usefulness is severely hampered since Pat has a model with close control. Engineers are a fairly low momentum team, so I think Crucible is good here. I deploy compactly in the middle of the field with Vitriol kicking. Starting at the top, I have Harry, Midas, Catalyst, Crucible, Vitriol, and Flask. Pat deploys. From top to bottom, he has Mother, Hoist, Ratchet, Ballista, Velocity, and Harry. I jog Vitriol up into the cover and kick the ball towards the top of the screen, the idea being to push the ball as far from the Harry aura and close control as possible. The kick is good and the ball scatters directly towards Hoist. I decide to be greedy and re-roll, and it moves towards the cover instead. Pat allocates. He puts 4 on Hoist, 4 on Ratchet, 4 on Ballista, 1 on Velocity. I allocate. I place 4 on Vitriol to provide kickoff pressure, 4 on Catalyst, 3 on Midas for the Catalyst slingshot, and 2 on Harry for some Molotov action. Pat activates Mother. Mother drops a nest marker and uses it to pick up the ball. Mother jogs towards the top of the screen and unsnaps the ball. I look at that activation and Pat has completely taken the ball out of play for the turn. I don't even have to measure it, the ball is just ungettable. I activate Flask, jog him up and place a cloud on Vitriol. Pat activates Harry and jogs him forward. I activate Crucible and jog her up near the cover. I stay out of the cover so that I don't give him a 3-person AoE to get tons of VanValue off of with Blast Earth. Pat activates Velocity and jogs her forward next to Harry, then puts up Nimble for +1 defense. I activate Harry, sprint him forward, and place a Fire AoE. In retrospect, this is a bit of a mistake, since if I had placed it farther left, I could have used it to light Catalyst back on fire after Ballista knocks him down later in the turn. Pat activates Hoist, jogs him up to the cover. Pat is careful to place him outside of 10 inches of Vitriol and 15 of Catalyst. He uses True Replication to copy Blast Earth from Ratchet, and throws an AoE that covers both Vitriol and Flask. The AoE hits Vitriol, dealing 2 damage, and misses Flask. He places a second AoE in the same place, connecting on Vitriol again, and whiffing on Flask again. I activate Vitriol because I cannot give him the same easy AoE shots with Ratchet. I decide that my best course of action is to go after Harry and pull him in, while generating momentum. Vitriol charges Harry. We get all the way to Momentous Clone, but since I need to pull Harry in, we take the push dodge, pulling him closer to Catalyst. Vitriol takes her second attack, we do a Momentous push dodge, and pull Harry closer to Catalyst. Our final attack does a push dodge, and we pull Harry closer. I think I made a mistake here, not healing Vitriol. Pat activates Ratchet and jogs him next to Ballista. He places a Blast Earth on Vitriol next to Harry. This is clever placement, as it will make me putting Catalyst into Harry more difficult, while generating him momentum off of Momentous Inspiration. Ratchet hits Vitriol, dealing 2 damage. Ratchet throws another Blast Earth on Vitriol and hits again, taking Vitriol down to just 4 HP. Yeah, I really regret not healing Vitriol. We are still on the put Catalyst into Harry plan, and are going to need at least 2 momentum to get Catalyst onto Harry. 1 to glide over the rough terrain, and 1 to stand him back up after Ballista deadbolts him. After pre-measuring it out, I can move Midas up and Lure of Gold Catalyst, and put him in this nice little nook where Ballista can't push me away from Harry. So we activate Midas and sprint him into the rough terrain, which he ignores due to light-footed, and lure Catalyst right next to Flask and the obstacle. Pat activates Ballista. Ballista jogs up to just within range of Deadbolt. He hardcasts Mind Field, and deadbolts Catalyst, which he hits. Ballista does 3 damage to Catalyst and pushes him back into the wall and generates a momentum off of his aura. I activate Catalyst. I take a breather to remove conditions, spend a momentum to glide, and declare a charge on Harry. Pat declares a defensive stance and a counterattack. We pull the Blast Earth marker for convenience before I place Catalyst. The charge attack wraps by 2 and does Momentous Knockdown and Momentous External Combustion. This deals 3 damage to Harry and lights him on fire due to Burning Strike, and lights Velocity on fire from External Combustion. Pat gains 2 momentum from Harry's Rising Anger. Catalyst buys his second attack and does Momentous External Combustion. Catalyst's last attack does Momentous External Combustion. I consider for a moment healing Vitriol, but I'm only leading in momentum by 2, so I hold onto it and hope for the best. This ends the turn. Alchemists lead the momentum race 5-3. I win the initiative roll. Catalyst lights himself back on fire and conditions tick down. I allocate. I place 4 on Catalyst, 4 on Midas, 1 on Crucible, and 4 on Vitriol. My plan for this turn is to put Harry in the dirt, then with any remaining resources we have left over, go after Velocity or Ballista. I have put a heavy amount of resources on Midas and Vitriol, with the thought being that he is likely to take a goal at some point this turn, and I want to be able to take the goal in response. I should be able to do this if I go up on activations by killing Harry. Pat allocates. He places 1 on Mother, 2 on Hoist, 1 on Ratchet, 6 on Ballista, 3 on Velocity. I activate Catalyst. Catalyst swings at Harry. I wrap by 1 and do a Momentous Push, choosing not to push Harry, and an External Combustion, dealing 3. This procs Rising Anger, and Pat collects 2 momentum. Catalyst takes his second swing. We wrap by 1 again and deal another Momentous External and 1 damage. We choose to do this so that it is very hard for us to flub the next roll, since by taking the 1 damage on the wrap, We bring Harry down to 2 HP. Catalyst's third attack deals Momentous External and a Momentous Push with the wrap, and we take out Harry, bringing the score to 2-0. I take a second here to think about whether I should go after Ballista or Velocity. I ultimately decide that Ballista is more likely to die since Velocity is incredibly slippery, and that killing him will have a larger impact on the game. Catalyst jogs over to Ballista and attacks him. Pat declares a counterattack. The result I select is 2 damage and knockdown, but Ballista's tough hide reduces it to 1 damage. Catalyst spends a momentum to heal himself, and then he spends another 2 to heal Vitriol. Pat activates Ballista and spends 1 momentum to clear his conditions. He attacks Catalyst, and I declare a counterattack. Ballista does a double push, preventing my counterattack. Ballista jogs up to Catalyst and attacks him, doing a knockdown. Ballista takes his third attack at Catalyst and hits his Momentous double Guild Ball to activate Minefield. Ballista attacks a 4th time and does Momentous 2 damage double push. Pat pushes Catalyst towards the center of the pitch. Ballista takes his 5th attack and deals 3 damage. Ballista takes his last attack and does 3 more damage. I activate Crucible and jog her towards Velocity. I place her in such a way that she is within 4 inches of Velocity, but outside of Minefield from Ballista. She then puts up Nimble for +1 defense. Pat activates Ratchet. Ratchet jogs towards Hoist and uses his heroic to give him a free run or charge. He then spends 1 influence to tool up Hoist. I activate Harry. I really want to get Harry into the fight since he is one of the most efficient beaters I have access to. I jog him up to Ballista to provide a crowd out for Vitriol later in the turn. He takes 4 damage from Minefield and Rising Anger goes off, giving me 2 momentum. Harry then spends 1 momentum to heal himself back up to full. Pat activates Velocity. She jogs 4, then uses Acrobatics to dodge into melee with Catalyst. Velocity attacks Catalyst and does a Momentous double push double dodge, then puts up Nimble. I activate Midas and jog him up to Ballista and take 4 damage from Minefield. I declare an attack on Ballista. Pat decides not to counterattack. I get 3 hits and select Midas's Momentous Guild Ball, doing Midas Touch, which places a burden token on Ballista. Midas attacks again, knocking Ballista down. Midas takes his 3rd attack and deals Momentous 2 damage push dodge. Ballista's tough skin reduces it to 1 damage, and I pull Ballista back towards Catalyst. Midas takes his final attack and does another point of damage to Ballista by taking Momentous 2 damage push dodge. We pull Ballista even closer to Catalyst. Midas heals himself. Pat activates Mother. Mother jogs up to the cover and places a nest between the goal and Hoist, then bonus times a kick to Hoist, which succeeds. Pat chooses to take no teamwork actions. I activate Flask. I jog Flask up to Ballista and place him in cover to set up for a big Vitriol activation. Pat activates Hoist. He uses True Replication to copy Burrow from Mother. Hoist spends 1 influence to use Burrow and teleport to the nest marker. Hoist uses the free sprint to get to tap-in range of the goal, then takes the shot. Pat gets it and brings the score up to 2-4. I forget to play Who Are Ya? Before I kick the ball off, I spend a large chunk of my clock looking at a potential Vitriol goal, but I do all this before I kick out the ball, and after I kick it out, it becomes impossible. I kick out the ball and it scatters 3 inches to the 1 and lands right next to Flask and knock down Catalyst. I choose to leave the ball loose so that I can win the momentum race and have Midas activate first next turn and take the goal, hopefully using his legendary in the process. I activate Vitriol and charge Ballista, declaring hidden damage. Pat declares a defensive stance. Vitriol moves into Minefield and takes 4 damage. I get 9 hits after the armor. I burn the Midas token to get 2 more so that we wrap twice. The results I choose are Momentous 3 double dodge twice and Unmomentous 1 damage. I used hidden damage so each of these results is increased by 1, but Ballista's tough hide reduces each of them by 1. When this attack resolves, the result is 7 damage to Ballista and 2 momentum for me. Vitriol takes her second attack and wraps by 3. I choose to do Momentous 3 double dodge and 2 damage. Due to tough hide, this is reduced to 3 damage. Vitriol takes her final attack and wraps by 2, dealing 3 damage and 1 momentum. Vitriol heals herself. I want to stand Catalyst up, but that opens the door for Pat to steal the initiative from me, and that is a risk I can't take, so I end Vitriol's activation. This ends the turn. Conditions tick down. I allocate. I place 4 on Catalyst, 6 on Midas, 3 on Harry. The plan here is to score a goal with Midas and deal the last 3 damage to Ballista, then see if I can kill Velocity with Harry and Catalyst. Pat allocates. He jogs to Harry. He places 2 on Hoist, 2 on Mother, 4 on Velocity, 4 on Ratchet, 1 on Harry. Here, Pat forgets to allocate his goal influence. I activate Midas. Midas attacks and wraps by 2. I select Momentous 2 damage push dodge, and Unmomentous push dodge with the wrap. The damage is reduced to 1 with Tough Hide. Here I think I'm going to be cute and push dodge Ballista around Catalyst. Unfortunately for me, that's not the way it works. On page 35 of the rulebook, all push results from a single attack are combined into one push result, and all pushes have to be in a straight line, so I only have a 2-inch push, not 2 1-inch pushes like I thought. Midas makes his second attack. I deal Momentous 2 damage push dodge, and it's reduced to 1 with Tough Hide, leaving Ballista on 1 HP. Midas makes his third attack and deals Momentous 2 damage push dodge, killing Ballista. I forget to take my momentum for killing Ballista here. Score is now 4-4. I use the dodge from the result to move Midas around Catalyst and pick up the ball. I sprint Midas into range of the goal within 4 inches of Ratchet and Velocity. I use Super Shot and Midas's Legendary. I take the shot on goal with bonus time. I hit a Screamer and collect 2 momentum. Score is now 8-4. I choose not to use Knee Slider here, since I would like Midas to be within snapshot range if the opportunity presents itself. I didn't put up Midas's Heroic this activation because I was worried about momentum and didn't think that he had any players that could threaten him. Pat kicks the ball in over by Mother and it scatters behind her. Pat activates Ratchet. Ratchet throws a Blast Earth over at Flask, Harry, and Catalyst. It hits Catalyst and Harry. Harry's Rising Anger procs, gaining me 2 momentum. Ratchet sprints over to the ball and kicks it to Mother. The kick is good and Mother dodges 4 inches. Pat is careful to keep Mother outside of Harry's threat range. I activate Harry. I jog him into melee with Velocity. I use Crazy and take a swing. Velocity is only def 4 here due to Snared. I choose Momentous Knockdown. I swing again and my hot dice finally cool off and I do a Momentous double push. I push her towards Catalyst and into the Crucible Aura. Harry then throws a Molotov next to Catalyst so that he can shake his conditions and light himself back on fire for the extra dice. Harry heals himself. Pat activates Velocity. She sacrifices movement to remove the knockdown. She uses Acrobatics to dodge 2 inches. She uses Nimble and swings on Harry. I counterattack. Velocity's attack completely whiffs. Harry's counterattack hits the double push, and I push Velocity back into Crucible's aura. Velocity attacks Vitriol, and I counterattack with her. Pat's dice spike, and he gets all 3 hits and momentously push dodges his way out of Vitriol's melee. Pat goes to clear Velocity's conditions, and realizes he's still in Crucible's aura, and he would need to spend all of his momentum to remove the conditions, so he chooses to leave them on her. This has been my experience playing Crucible. Crucible is a decent battery that follows Catalyst around, and can be given influence in a pinch. But once per game, her aura is absolutely backbreaking, and this is that moment for this game. If he spends the momentum down, he is susceptible to all sorts of Catalyst knockdowns and won't be able to go for the snapshot that could put him back in the game. I activate Catalyst and spend a momentum to remove conditions. Then he jogs to the fire AoE, then back to base contact with Velocity. Catalyst attacks Velocity, hitting 2 damage knockdown. Catalyst takes his second swing and does Momentous External Combustion, dealing 3 damage. Catalyst buys his third attack and does another Momentous External. With his final attack, Catalyst wraps by 1, and I realize I've forgotten about Reanimate. This means that activating Catalyst here was a huge mistake. What I should have done was go with Flask and played Sikkim. If I hit the Intensify, the math becomes way better for me to kill this model. But we have to work with what I rolled, and I do an external and a push, gaining 2 momentum and proccing Reanimate. Velocity removes all conditions and heals 3 hit points. Pat activates Mother and sprints her to within 4 inches of Hoist. She then places a nest marker behind him. Mother passes the ball to Hoist with bonus time. The pass is successful. Hoist takes a 4-die tap-in snapshot, but misses it. This is incredibly rough. A 4-die tap-in snapshot is in the 80% range, and was Pat's main path back into this game. If he makes the shot, he still has Hoist's activation to try to wrestle the ball back from me, while I have no influence left on the board. The ball scatters into the post. I activate Flask and play Sick'em to charge velocity. Flask deals 1 damage. Pat activates Harry and sprints him towards the top of the screen. I activate Crucible and jog her to engage velocity. Pat activates Hoist, who sprints, picks up the ball, and ends up back where he began. I activate Vitriol and move her to engage velocity. This ends the turn. Conditions tick down. Alchemists lead the momentum race 7-0, and I automatically win the initiative. I allocate. I place 4 on Catalyst, 4 on Harry, 2 on Vitriol, 4 on Midas. Pat allocates. He places 3 on Mother, 4 on Hoist, 6 on Ballista, 1 on Harry. I activate Catalyst. Catalyst attacks Velocity and knocks her down momentously. Catalyst takes his second attack, which does 2 damage knockdown. Reanimate procs, healing Velocity and standing her back up. Catalyst takes his third attack and does 2 damage knockdown. Cat takes his final swing and does a momentous external combustion, killing Velocity. The score is now 10-4. Catalyst heals himself. Pat activates Hoist and takes a shot on goal and gets it. The score is now 10-8. I kick the ball straight up the middle. It scatters just above Midas. I activate Midas. Midas sprints, picks up the ball, heads back towards the goal, and ends up in tap-in range. I use Super Shot and shoot the goal with bonus time. I get it and win the game 12-8. This has been another classic game of Guild Ball. Several key mistakes were made in this game by both sides. Pat's early overextension of Harry put him behind early. My triggering of Reanimate and not accounting for it was also a large misplay. But here I would like to pass the question on to you. What were our mistakes this game? Would you have made different decisions? Let me know in the comments down below. Hit that like button, it helps other Guild Ball players find this video. Hit that subscribe button to know the moment I upload a new video. And share this with your friends. I'm Vincent Curkov, and this has been Run the Length.